And now, live from the Steel Twins recording studio in beautiful Traverse City, Michigan, it's your boys, the Cannonball, the Cannon, the Steel Twins. What is going on, everybody? It is Wednesday night. It's voice acting night, and your boys, the Cannonball and the Cannon, are live and in public, if you will.
Yes, we are, my friends.
let me cut this music off. I love my jobs. God dang.
Yeah, I do too, man. 7.6.
Yep. That's the spirit.
There we go.
So, I'm going to keep experimenting with that. I think that's fun.
Yeah.
Try to, obviously you got to find a way to put, music in without, this is music from the game. So, it's very apropos, and it's one of our favorite tunes from the whole series.
Yes.
Just a nice upbeat little thing. It's the most upbeat tune we're going to have because, trust us, kids. Shit's gonna get real dark here.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh boy. So tonight we're gonna do something a little bit different. I've got some sparkling ice, and I had to drink a little bit of it early because I was thirsty. But this is a nice alternative to the energy drinks we've been drinking. So if you have a pin to your drink or a cap to your bottle, you twist that cap off or you pull that pin. Hey, package. What time is it?
It's time to get bombed.
Cheers.
Cheers, mate. Sir.
Good stuff. Hits the spot.
Right. Let's get to it.
Yes. Let's get to it. And you may be hearing the dryer in the background. Or the washing machine, whatever. The door's closed, but those eagle-eyed people, those eagle-eared folks may be able to hear it. But that doesn't matter because it's the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles and we're in jail. I don't know why. Load the game. So last we saw, not only has Kazuma Asogi returned from the dead, some stuff's gone down. Well, our good friend, Tobias Gregson has been murdered. What? And the prime suspect is your friend and mine, Lord Barok van Zieks. What? So, and leading the prosecution in the trial is none other than Ryunosuke Naruhodo's best friend, Kazuma Asogi. What? So, what else could we possibly see? Tune in, guys, because we're getting this started right now. Twisted Karma and his last bow.
Time for the first part of the trial, folks.
Good news. The check cleared. It's go time.
2nd of November, 8:56 a.m. The Old Bailey, defendant's antechamber.
There's that old familiar feeling again. The crushing pressure of this historic courthouse. Actually, no. It's a little different today. There's an even more menacing tension in the air.
There is a menacing tension in the air here today, isn't there? I suppose?
Yes, I think so. It can only be the result of the menacing appearance of the defendant.
A little more courtesy, if you please. Oh my, I do apologize. However, you're certainly not mistaken that this trial is far from ordinary.
What do you mean?
I'm not privy to the details. However, I understand that no jury has been selected. A trial without a jury? Well, that's just like the trial of the professor 10 years ago.
Uh-oh. Closed court. Good morning, my dear fellows. Mr. Sholmes. Have you made note of my hair, Mr. Naruhodo? An outright victory for science, you must agree. To be perfectly honest, so much happened yesterday that, well, I completely forgot about your little hair problem. Ha! What to one man is a little hair problem. That is to another a day of drinking dubious potion after dubious potion. You have no idea how my stomach ails me this morning.
Oh dear, how awful for you.
I'm afraid you only have yourself to blame, Mr. Sholmes. And good morning to you, Mr. Reaper. I'm delighted to see you looking so full of vim.
And I see London's celebrated great detective is as active as ever.
Oh, you exaggerate, my dear fellow. Compared to my paltry engagements with a few trivial cases, the Reaper's overbearing presence is a far greater deterrent to the black roots of crime in our capital. And whilst I may not agree with your methods, there is at least one point on which I would readily commend you.
What an honor. And that would be...
Your eye for a good lawyer, sir. Mr. Sholmes! After all, behind this lawyer, there is a very great mind. My own.
What are you trying to say?
I wish only to say that you should be prepared for quite a trial, Mr. Reaper.
Sorry to barge in.
Gina! What's that on her arm? It's a mourning band, I suppose.
Father, shouldn't you be at the symposium? It's been postponed, so I have some free time. I decided to come along with the police inspector to see our country's up-and-coming student in action.
Oh!
I shall be very interested to see the fruits of your studies over the past year.
Well, it's an honor to have you here. Let's hope there's some fruits to see.
Otto?
Oh, yes, Gina?
Why'd you agree to this, eh? Why'd you take him on?
Huh?
This Reaper bloke. Everyone says it was him what killed the boss.
Sorry, Gina, but I just don't believe that.
Well, if it weren't him, who was it?
I don't know that. Yet.
I don't care who calls him what. A Reaper's just a name. He's just a person at the end of the day. And if it turns out it was him what killed the boss, then God help him.
Fiery eyes indeed. Yes, the culprit deserves every ounce of your loathing.
Hey?
At least, that may be some solace to the deceased.
Please, Otto. Get whoever did this. For the boss.
Oh, Gina.
I ain't feeling this useless. There's nothing I can do. So you gotta find who done this and make the wretch pay.
Counsel for the defense and the defendant. Court will be in session shortly. Make your way into the courtroom at once, please.
All right, then. Here we go.
It's time, Miss Naruhodo. Lord Van Zieks.
Oh, boy. Whew. Drama, drama, drama.
Yes, and a lot of it.
One who lost his treasured brother to a mass murderer.
Huh?
One who lost his treasured father in a foreign court of law.
Huh? Huh?
And one who lost the man who helped her escape destitution.
Huh? Huh? Huh?
All that misfortune, all that pain, on course to collide headlong in this trial. Time to shine a light on all these dark events. And whatever truth is revealed, we're gonna have to look it straight in the eye. Right in the hairy eyeball.
Mm-hmm. Well, time to get going, folks. 2nd of November, 9:20 a.m. The Old Bailey courtroom.
Yeah, like you said, a little early, but
A little early, yeah. All rise.
in the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. We are here to conduct the fair and just trial of the defendant, Barok van Zieks. Counsels for the defense and prosecution, are you ready to begin? The defense is ready, my lord.
The prosecution is more than ready. Oh, Kazuma-sama.
I've been wishing to see you in court again for so long, it feels. But I never pictured it happening like this. I never thought I'd be facing you behind the prosecution's bench. The so-called Reaper of the Bailey has been a scourge like no other, undermining Her Majesty's justice system. Today, we must uncover the truth behind this scourge. In other words, this trial is going to be a lot more far-reaching than Inspector Gregson's murder. The truths revealed by these proceedings may have unpredictable repercussions through the judiciary.
Maddie! Thank you so much for liking the stream.
Yep, I hope you guys, I hope you and Alex enjoy tonight. We're gonna put our all into this one.
Yes.
Accordingly, they are to be conducted as a closed trial, with no members of the public present, by Her Majesty's direct orders. How will that work, my lord? The burden of all arbitration and adjudication falls on my shoulders. Therefore, as you will see, the jurors' bench shall remain vacant today.
If no members of the public are present, might I ask who is currently occupying the gallery, my lord?
They are members of the judiciary, here to witness proceedings and ensure an equitable trial. Members of the judiciary.
Oh my, this is a very unusual trial already.
There is, of course, another unprecedented aspect to these proceedings on which I must elaborate. The counsels for the prosecution and the defense are both aliens of Great Britain.
Or like immigrants.
From Mars?
I believe it takes an outsider to see the truth sometimes. And as I stand here in this courtroom now, I'm quite certain this is the reason why I had to come to Britain.
Kazuma? Very well. Let us commence proceedings. Prosecutor Asogi, your opening statement, if you please.
Certainly, my lord. The incident took place on the 1st of November at just after 5 o'clock in the afternoon. The location was a building of flats on Fresno Street on the outskirts of the city. The victim's body was discovered there in an old single-room rental property.
Yes, Inspector Tobias Gregson, a name known very well indeed to this court. Not least for his miraculous resolution of one of this country's grimmest cases 10 years ago.
The Professor case.
How sure are you about the time of the incident?
Several witnesses on the street outside heard the gunshot, and all have reported the same time.
Yes, that's what Gina told us too. A number of witnesses.
I have here a plan of the room. The victim was found curled up in one corner. It's believed that he was shot from the front at point-blank range and died instantly.
How has the range been determined?
There were scorch marks around the entry wound. Such marks are caused by the gunpowder used to fire the bullet. A powder hot enough to leave scorch marks is only ejected a few inches beyond the end of the barrel. In other words, it only happens when the target is at point-blank range.
I see. Yes. Thank you for the detailed explanation, Counsel. The autopsy report has been entered into the court record.
Inspector Gregson's autopsy report stating that death was instant, resulting from a bullet shot at close range. The murder weapon was found lying beside the victim.
And have you managed to ascertain the owner of this firearm?
No, my lord. Not conclusively. Bravo, Kazuma-sama. We're not trying to use the gun as evidence when its provenance can't be proven. Furthermore, my lord, as I've explained, the revolver was fired at extremely close range. The bullet passed through the victim and struck the wall behind him. There is a candelabrum mounted on that wall, and the tip of one of the candles in it was found to have been blown off by the projectile. We noticed that too, didn't we?
Yes, that's right. Thank you for the thorough report, Counsel. The setting of the crime is clear to me. You will submit the plan of the crime scene as evidence, please.
As you wish, my lord.
The crime scene floor plan has been entered into the court record.
Plan of the small room in the building of flats on Fresno Street where the body of the victim, Inspector Gregson, was found.
Is this Fresno Street room Inspector Gregson's private abode?
No, my lord. The room is rented to a Mr. Hugh Boone, but there is precious little furniture inside, and it is generally in a poor state of repair.
So what on earth was Gregson even doing there?
Presumably, he was investigating some case or other. When a policeman was informed of the gunshot from the witnesses and rushed to the scene, he found only the deceased inspector and the accused standing alongside, holding the revolver. The attending officer arrested the accused on the spot.
So, the details of the case are clear.
In that case, the prosecution would like to call its first witness.
A name, please, Counsel.
Naturally, the accused himself.
But Lord Van Zieks?
As a prosecutor, he believes in the oath of office he's taken and will be compelled to tell the truth.
Very well. Let the defendant take the witness stand. Another witness for the prosecution.
So, witness, state your name and occupation for the court.
Barok van Zieks, Old Bailey prosecutor.
I presume, Lord Van Zieks, that you heard Prosecutor Asogi's opening preface.
I did.
It is alleged that you were found at the scene of the crime and that you were arrested by the arriving police officer. Can you confirm this?
Yes, my lord.
Then I'm sure the court would like to hear you explain some things away. Namely, why you were there in the room on Fresno Street at the time in question, and what exactly took place.
I intend to explain away nothing. I will simply tell the truth.
I must say, Lord Van Zieks, I never imagined this day would come. Or rather, I didn't want to imagine it would come. But since you became known as the Reaper, a part of me has been dreading it. Your formal testimony, then, witness.
Here we go.
The judge is like so forlorn about this whole thing. Facts of the incident.
I was investigating Gregson, and my inquiries had led me to that address. When I first entered the room that day, it was dark inside, and I saw no one. A moment later, I heard the gunshot. I spun around and saw the revolver on the floor. Just as I picked the firearm up to examine it, the door flew open, and I heard a man scream. It was only then that the body of Inspector Gregson appeared before me.
Grill him like a hamburger, I guess. That testimony was the whole truth?
It was.
So, you heard a shot being fired in a room with no living occupants, and moments later, a corpse somehow appeared before your eyes? Is that it? You're right. You haven't explained away anything. In fact, that would barely qualify as an excuse.
I thought you were my mute apprentice. Yet it turns out you have a way with words, Prosecutor Asoji.
It would appear to be a singular tale indeed.
Singular isn't the word. It's laughable.
What's got into Kazuma? He's not behaving like himself at all. Very well, then. Counsel, you may begin your cross-examination. Yes, my lord.
Let's get all the information out of this guy.
Yep. Let's grill him like a hamburger. Facts of the incident.
I was investigating Gregson, and my inquiries had led me to that address.
Hold it! You were investigating the inspector. What on earth for?
I'm not at liberty to say.
Sorry?
I'd identified a distinct possibility that Gregson was involved in a case I was investigating. Regrettably, though, he was killed before I could secure the proof I needed.
Is the court to understand, then, that on the day in question, you followed the victim to the scene?
No, I was privy to his movement in advance.
How?
I stole into his office in the yard and consulted his diary. The address on Fresno Street was noted in the 5 p.m. entry.
You illegally entered the man's office? In Japan, that alone would constitute a very serious offense.
As it does in Great Britain, I assure you. Is that not the case, Lord Van Zieks?
I was aware of the possible consequences.
So, in summary, you were investigating the victim, and yet you refused to tell the court why. I didn't realize British prosecutors enjoyed such freedom to choose what to divulge under oath.
Ugh. Why did I ever think I could defend this man?
When I first entered the room that day, it was dark inside and I saw no one.
Hold it! Had you ever been to the address before?
No, never. I only learned the place as a result of my investigations into Gregson's activities. There was no light inside when I entered, so it was all but impossible to make out anything.
But at 5 p.m., the sun would only just have gone down. It would still have been reasonably light outside.
The room has a window, but it was boarded shut. Very little light found its way into the room from outside, so it was extremely murky inside. I wouldn't have noticed that the victim was already lying on the floor.
There was no artificial light in the room, you say? You're quite sure?
I'm quite sure that the part of the room where the body was found was very dark. I have a feeling there was a small oil lamp burning on the desk, though I couldn't say for certain.
Look, Mr. Naruhodo.
Yep, there's a lamp.
There is a small desk in the room just here.
Yes, I remember. And there was an oil lamp on it, as well as the famed framed photograph.
Of Miss Vigil. When I entered the room, I closed the door behind me and started towards the desk to investigate.
And what did you find?
Nothing. I never actually reached the desk. A moment later, I heard the gunshot. I spun around and saw the revolver on the floor.
Hold it! So, who fired the gun?
I have no idea. I didn't see anybody else in the room.
But you say it was very dark in there.
Yes, that's right. All I can tell you is, I didn't sense another's presence.
Aha! Then it could be... that the gunshot actually originated from somewhere outside the room?
No, that's out of the question.
Oh,
Without doubt, the sound emanated from inside the room. I could smell the gunpowder.
this is going from bad to worse.
And you say that's the point at which you noticed the revolver on the floor?
Correct. And I foolishly picked it up. That was carelessness on my part.
Presumably then, the gunshot you heard came from the firearm that you somewhat hastily took in your hands.
In point of fact, my lord, I believe it did not.
What?
The barrel of the revolver I picked up was cold, and there was no smell of spent powder.
But then, where on earth is the gun that was fired?
Whilst I would like to oblige you with an answer, I'm afraid I can't. I too would dearly like to know that.
Jeez.
Just as I picked the firearm up to examine it, the door flew open and I heard a man scream.
Hold it! A man, you say? One of the witnesses, I presume.
That's right. One of the street merchants working on Fresno Street.
Who are these merchants?
A number of them had set up their stalls directly beneath the boarded window of the crime scene. A match seller, a newsmonger, and a peddler. They've all given statements saying they heard the gunshot, and without thought of danger, they ran inside to see what had happened. Yes, Gina told us about that yesterday, didn't she? They burst through the door with some force, it would seem.
They did, and almost gave me a heart attack in the process.
But you're supposed to be the Reaper!
The first man to come in immediately noticed the revolver in my hand and fled.
A policeman patrolling on Fresno Street heard the commotion and was able to arrest the accused shortly after the incident occurred.
Anyway, the man's scream drew my attention in that direction. It was only then that the body of the Inspector Gregson appeared before me.
Hold it! What do you mean by that? In what way did the body appear?
I honestly can't explain it, but it's the truth. As far as I was concerned, the body hadn't been there until that point, and then suddenly, there it was.
Did you perhaps hear the sound of the victim falling to the ground just beforehand?
At that moment, what I heard was the sound of the door flying open and the scream of the man who came inside first, nothing more.
I see.
After the man fled, I examined the body. I was stunned to find that it was Gregson.
Most curious circumstances indeed.
How the inspector was killed, or how his body seemed to appear out of nowhere, I have no idea.
Objection!
Surely the court has heard enough.
Huh?
My lord, the cross-examination has clearly revealed that the accused, Barok van Zieks, is lying on multiple fronts.
What is that supposed to mean? Good gracious, counsel. The defendant is lying, you say?
In his testimony just now, he claims that he failed to notice the victim's body because the room was dark.
That's correct.
No, that's impossible, as proven by this candelabrum.
How does that prove anything?
If you examine the tip of the long candle, you can see it has been blown off by a powerful impact.
One would assume that the projectile from the firearm passed through the victim and struck the candle.
The problem comes when you consider the other two candles, which are clearly of a different length.
Yes, I can see that only the candle that appears to have been struck by the bullet is long.
We could reasonably expect someone to have lit all 3 candles together.
How do you know that?
Which begs the question of why only one has ended up longer than the others.
That must be because that particular candle was extinguished when the others were still burning. Ah!
That's right. When the candle was hit by the bullet, it obviously went out. But the other 2 candles would still have been burning. So the fact is, the victim's body would have been illuminated by the light still thrown by the candelabrum. And the accused claim that he couldn't see the body clearly contradicts those facts. And now to the next lie.
There's more?
The accused also claims never to have visited the scene of the crime before. That's the truth. In that almost empty room, the police discovered something very unusual. A board covered from top to bottom in police documents and newspaper cuttings. Yes, that's right. We saw it too. It goes without saying that the contents of the police documents cannot be divulged. However, they included a number of reports from various historical cases, the oldest of which was from 10 years ago.
10 years ago? This is starting to sound familiar.
And there is a common thread linking all of the documents on that board.
Indeed. What is this common thread, Counsel?
They all relate to cases prosecuted in court by Barok van Zieks.
All of them?
And furthermore, all those cases are ones in which the defendant was acquitted.
Good Lord.
Interestingly, none of those defendants are alive today, because all of them have been sent to their graves by the Reaper.
Ah!
Oh no! In short, that dingy little room is the Reaper's secret hideout and his base of operations.
The Reaper's hideout?
And yet the Reaper would claim never to have been to his own secret hideout?
Okay, that's ridiculous.
No one would believe that. No. The truth is, we've been looking at this backwards.
Backwards? Explain, Counsel.
Inspector Gregson was investigating the identity of the Reaper. When he discovered the location of the man's secret hideout, he was killed. As I'm sure everyone can imagine, by the Reaper's hand.
What? What? Order! Order! Very well. I hereby state the current opinion of the court. Barok van Zieks is an outstanding prosecutor who has rendered great service to his country. However, it is with deep regret that I must concur with Prosecutor Asogi's contention that the defendant's testimony exhibits a number of stark inconsistencies with the known facts.
All I have done is state the truth as I know it.
Kazim has done a brilliant job as ever. He's drawing on his experience as a defense attorney to build his prosecution case, and it's formidable. Counsel, you will submit the board that you just showed the court as evidence. I believe it to be fundamental in establishing the facts surrounding the Reaper's existence.
Thank you, my lord.
Notice board has been entered into the court record.
A freestanding notice board completely covered in notes and articles relating to victims of the Reaper of the Bailey.
Huh.
And now, the prosecution would like to call new witnesses to the stand.
Before we do, let's take a peek at some of this evidence. We already got all this stuff. We already got the key and the policeman figurine. Look at this autopsy report. Okay, coroner, Maria Gorey.
Victim, name Tobias Gregson, male, age 45, nationality British, time of death.
Blank? What?
How could you leave it blank?
Oh, that's very curious. Cause of death. Victim was shot in the chest at close range from the front, resulting in instant death. Scorch marks at the point of entry. The bullet exited the body from behind. Additional observations. The caliber of the gun used matches that of standard issue firearms for members of the judiciary. Well, okay then. I mean, here's your floor plan. There's the board. There's Gregson. And the notice board.
There are details of a whole raft of cases dating back years on here, aren't there?
This paper from 10 years ago is browning with age. Look.
Out of interest, the most recent thing appears to be this newspaper cutting here.
Oh, it's the same Red-Headed League advertisement that Mr. Sholmes had picked out.
And do you remember? There was a red hairpiece at the scene too.
Was Inspector Gregson an exponent of the Red-Headed League then? Huh.
What about the back?
What is that?
What the? Oh, what's this? Miss Naruhodo, look!
Oh yes, it's a smudge of some kind. In fact, it looks just like a handprint.
And the color, that's blood, isn't it? Oh dear, how disturbing.
The details of the notice board have been updated in the court record.
There's a bloody handprint on the back side.
Now, what on earth does that mean? I kind of forgot about how that whole thing comes in. So the prosecution would like to call new witnesses to the stand?
Witnesses who saw events unfold on the day in question. They were mentioned in the previous testimony too, if you remember.
Yes, the street sellers who heard the gunshot and went running into the room. Very well, lead the witnesses in. The defendant may step down from the witness stand.
Certainly, my lord.
Oh boy.
There's Beppo.
What is this? Yeah, it's old Beppo.
So, witnesses, state your names and occupations for the court. Yes, we don't use names. Far too fancy for the likes of us.
I think here's what I think this guy should sound like. I'm going to give him to you because of his identity. Spoiler alert. Names? We don't use names. Far too fancy for the likes of us. And then let's move on to the next one.
We're just free and easy. So we like where we want to live.
Give them all a vacant stare as they walk down the Fresno and spin a few words in a verse for them. Ah, would I be right in assuming that all three of you make your living by selling wares on the street?
Everyone calls me gossip. They sell jaunty little tidbits to passers by, you know.
Jaunty little tidbits.
Got an absolute smasher for you, sir. Right up your jiddle it is. 6 pence is the price, and not a penny less.
Wait, you're actually trying to sell it to me now?
Oh, come on, sir. Don't tell me you're not interested. Try the man. Give him the money and see what it is.
Pay the man, counsel. All right. 6 pence it is.
You won't regret it, sir. Now, got your listening ears on? Just between us, a young couple on Slot Street have just had twins.
Is that it?
No, it's not it. It's gossip, isn't it? It wants to spread. Well, that bit up to you in your mouth, of course. I've got more, you know. What a juicy one. 6 pence a piece it is, if you're curious.
I am curious, yes, about what's going on just under that fat bottom lip of yours. Namely, that unusual bruise or whatever it is that's poking out from under your collar.
What about the next witness, then? What name do you go by, and what do you sell?
Me? I'm Venus. It's what everyone calls me. Funny, isn't it? I sell these lovely little fireworks to all the local school kids. 6 pence a pop. What you say?
You weren't exaggerating with little. Do they actually sell?
Oh yeah. The second year's can't get enough of my Venus firecrackers. Especially when I tell them that if they get 100, they could blow up the school.
Not the most savory of ideas, young lady.
What do you say then, eh? Want a pound of sixpence for a pop?
Wait, what? You want me to buy one?
Tell you what, I'll let you in our little secret. If you get 100 of him, you can blow up the whole courtroom.
Try the woman. Give her the money and see if she's right.
Hey, the woman counsel. All right. I'll buy one.
Lovely stuff. Right then, this is something a bit extra just for you. The Venus Special, only 600 pence.
600?
It's honouring my regular fireworks. Nothing little about that, is there?
And there'd be nothing little about the punishment if I blew up the Old Bailey either. Venus Firecracker has been entered into the court record.
Venus Special Firecracker consisting of 100 smaller fireworks at 6 pence each. What sort of a bang could it make?
I wonder if that's the source of our gunshot.
And the last witness. What name do you go by and what do you sell?
I'm a thinker, me. I think all sorts of thoughts. I think, therefore I am. I am, therefore I think. I think. Because I stand there on the street, watching the world go on about me. They call me the Observator.
Get out of it, old man. Everyone calls you a sandwich and you know it. So, you don't actually sell anything?
A problem shared is a problem halved, as they say. A problem shared is a problem halved, as they say. I give advice, I do, and I think of what it means. I don't actually sell anything, no. Come to think of it. Hot, actual
Pity.
No more purchases today, please. Well, we have quite a cost here, it seems.
They conduct their business on Fresno Street from morning until night, my lord, and always in the same place, directly adjacent to the crime scene.
I see. And thus they heard the gunshot, I suppose.
Not only that, but they were very bravely ran inside to see what was going on and witness the crime. Well, I'd be begging, I thought, just between us.
Venus de Milo, what am I to do? What a terrible thing I saw.
What I think is, if all what we see is light and shadow playing with our eyes, is any of it real? Very well. The court will hear the formal testimony of these three witnesses now. You will describe in detail what you witnessed and heard at the time of the incident.
Time to break them apart, boys.
One by one. Witness testimony. The witness's account.
We saw the whole thing from start to finish, we did. Everything from the moment they went in the building.
It was less than a minute after the Reaper got inside though we all heard a big bang.
It seems to me that the quick to talk is quick to walk. A gossip could wait to go and see what had happened.
I ran to the room and there he was, the Reaper, gun in hand, standing over the dead body.
I was scared half to death, me, so I ran off to find the cooper.
Well,
If these witnesses were there the whole day and saw everything, who did they see going inside the building?
only the victim, Inspector Gregson, and the accused, Barok van Zieks. We'll see pictures of him Reaper in the paper. I know what he looks like. And just between us, folks love stories like this. I've made myself a tidy sum already.
But wait, the room was just one of several flats in the building. Someone from another flat could have done it.
All those flats on Fresno Street are unoccupied. You'll see how they're small, dim, dirty, and expensive to boot. The room in which the inspector was found is the only property in the building that's currently leased. And we know the leaseholder's name, don't we? It's Hugh Boone.
The testimony the court has just heard would appear to leave little room for doubt. It's becoming increasingly difficult to see how anyone other than the defendant could have committed the crime. No!
Thank you for your candor, my lord.
Counsel for the defense, you may proceed to cross-examine the witnesses. Yes, my lord. In a closed court like this, without a jury, the judge is the only person whose opinion matters. I have to break down this testimony. Somehow.
Yep,
Well, let's grill them like hamburgers.
time to go to work.
Cross-examination time. The witness's account.
We saw the whole thing from start to finish, we did. Everything from the moment they went in the building.
Hold it! When you say they, who do you mean exactly? Inspector Gregson and the defendant, Lord Van Zieks?
Well, I suppose so. Lots of us don't know the names of the high and mighty. But I'll tell you one thing. It was the old reaper that went in last, that's for sure and certain.
Just behind Inspector Gregson. Did they arrive at the same time as each other?
No, not at all. The first fella must have gone inside a good 15 minutes before we had that gunshot.
The victim arrived 15 minutes before? Are you sure about that?
Am I sure? Doesn't seem likely that I'd forgotten a fella with bright red hair like that, does it?
Yeah, his hair really were red, weren't it? Redder than my flaming fireworks even.
And that the fiery red mop is still burnt on the inside of my eyelids, it is. Wait a minute. You're saying the man was a redhead?
Did you listening, chum? Aye, he was a redhead, and he had a big trunk with him as well.
What? We didn't see a trunk at the scene.
But Inspector Gregson's hair isn't red, not by any stretch of the imagination.
Maybe he was wearing the wig. It seems likely that the person you saw wasn't in fact Inspector Gregson at all, but some other third party.
No, I hate to break it to you, but the witnesses are correct.
What?
Just have a look at this photograph of the victim taken at the scene.
And I'm pretty sure it's not gonna make us laugh.
Nope.
Ugh. Yes, that's Inspector Gregson, all right.
And a red hairpiece.
Ah!
Of course! We saw one on the floor when we investigated the scene, didn't we?
I still refuse to believe Inspector Gregson wore a hairpiece, though. So then why on earth would he have been wearing something like that? The color does seem to suit the man, one might say. The photograph will be submitted as evidence, please, counsel. Photograph of the victim has been entered into the court record.
Photographic print, well, yeah.
I'll read it later. And what became of the trunk that the red-headed victim was supposedly carrying?
I was informed that no trunk was found at the scene.
So it just disappeared?
What? You expect us to watch the building every second, do you?
We definitely saw him in the dock going in though. No question about that. It was less than a minute after the Reaper got inside that we all heard a big bang.
Let's get a look at the description of the... It says photographic print
Print of the victim, Inspector Gregson. His body appears to be tightly curled up and there's a red hairpiece on his head.
Oh boy. Jeez, that sucks. And he's covered in his own blood, too.
Yeah.
Alright. Hold it! By which presumably you mean the gunshot.
I sell these little things, don't I? How would I know what a gunshot sounds like? But I've always thought it probably sounds a bit like this, doesn't it?
And you say that you heard the noise almost as soon as you saw the defendant here enter the building.
That's right. It was almost straight away. bang it went, just like that.
Well, he is a Reaper, isn't he? It's what the French call a fait accompli. When the Reaper's around, people are going in the ground. I mean, that's what he does, isn't it?
I think we get the message.
The Reaper couldn't allow the inspector to live after he discovered his secret hideout. There can be no clearer motive for the crime.
Yes. It's certainly an eminently credible motive. Great.
And at that point, you ran inside. Is that correct?
It seems to me that the quick to talk is the quicker to walk. A gossip couldn't wait to go and see what had happened.
Hold it!
Hold it! So, when Gossip ran to see what had happened, did you go too? Well, me. I'm a bit happy to see you. All the signs of that I can't move very well.
You were away behind, presumably, with that sandwich board around your neck and that big sign in your hand.
What a great burden you bear. Pardon me for asking, Mr. Sandwich, but is it possible you and I have met before? I'm not anybody, me. The signs are what making me who I am now. I sang and therefore I am. So, you weren't employed as an omnibus driver just under a year ago then?
Uh-oh. I might be mistaken, but I believe his trembling has intensified, Mr. Naruhodo.
Yes, I agree. He's clearly been through a lot. Turn down King Henry Street and the Black Widower's Arms is just there.
Oh dear, you made him hide behind a sign.
Life is full of surprises.
I ran into the room and there he was. The Reaper, gun in hand, standing over the dead body.
Hold it! So then, you were the first person to arrive on the scene. Is that right?
That I was. Kicked the door open like a professional, I did, and yelled out, "What's going on there?"
Lord Van Zieks claims all he heard was a man scream, though.
And was it dark inside the room?
No, not dark at all. There were candles burning on the wall.
Really?
And there was a fella collapsed on the floor. Just between us, it's the first thing I noticed when I got inside.
I see. Even though Lord Van Zieks claims not to have seen any such lights on the wall.
The next thing I noticed was someone standing right beside the body.
The accused, Barok van Zieks.
That's right, the pale-faced Reaper himself. I was a little shocked, I won't deny it, but I'm no lily-livered coward. I stood my ground and gave that Reaper a cold hard stare myself.
Excuse me. Do you have something to add, Mr. Sandwich? There's really nothing to me. Empty in the head I am, just 2 slices with no middle. So I don't know what you could want with me. I think that maybe you just remembered something. Having heard Mr. Gossip's last statement, I mean. What I think is we're all nothings, really. We try to dress ourselves up as something else, but at the end of the day, we're just all street sellers.
That's enough out of you, Sandwich. Keep your trap shut now. Unless you want us to make you a real sandwich.
When he saw the Reaper, he fell clean over on his backside. That's it.
Oh, you rotten beggar! I told you to keep that a secret!
He screamed, he did. He screamed and scrambled off on all fours. And that's all I wanted to say. There's the scream Lord Van Zieks heard. Mr. Gossip, is this true?
The floor was too slippery, that's why. Planted my hand in a filthy pool of blood, didn't I? Yeah.
What? A pool of blood?
Well, listen here. Even when I was sprawled on the floor, I still kept giving that Reaper a cold hard stare. And don't you forget it.
Let's just go back a little. Did you say you got blood on your hand?
Oh, did I? It happens to the best of us at times, doesn't it? So I was scared. So I slipped over. We can keep it just between us, can't we?
No, Mr. Gossip. I'm going to have to ask you to add that information to your formal testimony.
Remember that bloodstain you found?
Yep.
Oh, if I must.
The witness will amend his testimony to include the aforementioned details at once.
I slipped over and got blood on my head, so I quickly wiped it off on the floor.
That's all right. Da, 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 da.
Well, let's see.
Da, 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 da. Take that. Objection. So you wiped off the blood from your hand on the floor of the room. Are you quite sure about that?
Well, what else did you expect me to have done, eh? Does it really matter?
Objection!
Objection! The police found no such handprint on the floor during their investigations. What exactly is the defense saying?
Objection! If you listen, you'll find out, Prosecutor Asogi. Certainly, there was no bloody handprint found on the floor.
What are you trying to say?
There was a handprint in blood left very clearly at the scene. On the back of this notice board. Yes, indeed. Indisputably a handprint in the distinctive color of blood.
Oh, you're dead right. That's my right hand. I know it anywhere.
Objection!
Objection! The witness very definitely testified that he wiped his hand on the floor. Any handprints on the back of the board are irrelevant.
Oh my God, stop it.
Objection!
Objection! Not if the board itself had fallen over onto the floor. In that case, it's quite possible for the witness's handprint to have ended up there.
Just look at the floor plan of the room. The notice board was in the opposite corner of the room to the victim and in an upright position. Even if it had somehow been toppled and was lying on the floor at the time, it would have been a considerable distance from the body.
Which means the notice board wasn't in the corner. It was closer to Inspector Gregson. And that's why the room was dark.
I fell over when I came across the body, so I was basically right next to the corpse, not on the other side of the room. In other words, the defense's assertion is contradictory.
Yes, it is. There's a very definite contradiction here, for which there must be a reason. I take it that you formulated a proper hypothesis, counsel, regarding this apparent discrepancy between the witness's account and the handprint found at the scene. I have, my lord. This discrepancy between the witness's account and the location of the handprint is explained by the board moving. The real contradiction here is the handprint itself, not where it was found. As the court can see, it's upside down. Good gracious, so it is. If the witness had put his hand against the board, the fingers should be pointing upwards.
What does that tell us?
It tells one simple fact. When this handprint was made, the board must have been lying on the floor, as I previously suggested. Which means that after the incident, it must have been moved.
What?
Objection!
Objection! You're claiming that somebody moved the notice board after the shooting? Then tell the court who.
I don't know that yet. But the point is, when you consider all the testimony we've heard so far, we can now be very clear on one point. And that would be the position of the notice board at the time of the incident, my lord. So, counsel, I must ask you to clarify your assertion for the court. At the time of the incident, where do you maintain the notice board was situated? Okay, I'm gonna let Story point it out, but it's definitely right there.
Take that!
Take that! This is the only possible location. Immediately adjacent to the doorway? If the court would think back to the testimony given by the defendant earlier, he said that when he entered the room, it was dark and he couldn't see the body.
What heck?
If the notice board had been here, the body would have been completely hidden from view, and the light from the candles would have been blocked, making the room appear darker.
Objection! Objection! But the accused also claims that the victim's body simply appeared before him.
That's true. Or, in his precise words,
Just as I picked the firearm up to examine it, the door flew open and I heard a man scream. It was only then that the body of Inspector Gregson appeared before me.
I don't know about calling a scream, but he was talking about me and no mistake. Because it was me that kicked the door open.
If you look again at the floor plan, consider what would happen if the door to the room was thrown open with force.
That can't.
The door struck the notice board, knocking it over and making the victim's body visible. Good gracious. My client has told nothing but the truth. He has simply described what he saw. Order! Order! Counsel, how has this not come to light before now? After the incident, somebody must have righted the board and moved it into the position where the police, myself, and my colleague saw it when investigating the room. Aha. Witness, what have you to say for yourself?
What? Me, my lord?
You and your fellows were there at the scene before anybody else. It goes without saying that you must know something about the position of the notice board. The witnesses in the stand will testify again. You will each explain exactly what you did upon arriving at the scene of the crime.
What? Stop looking over your glasses at me. I get the message.
Witness testimony. Mystery of the moving board.
I don't know anything about that there nice board. I just want my hand on it, that's all.
Well, don't look at me. I haven't got a clue about it. I was doing business with some second years at the time.
I don't know anything about anything. I'm just a bystander, me. I'm just a sign at the crossroads of life.
What's that rebar, eh? He's got a face that screams bored.
I can't see how this changes anything anyway. The detective still died when we heard the gunshot. So none of you can elaborate further.
shaken by the crime they witnessed, and with only the light of a few candles and an oil lamp by which to see, we can't expect these witnesses to be able to give a more precise account of what happened.
That's right, yeah. Don't pay to expect too much.
It's man's endless quest for knowledge that's destroying the world. That's what I think. Do you? Really?
In any case, as this testimony shows, even if the notice board was moved by somebody following the incident, it makes no difference. When the gunshot rang out, the accused was the only person at the scene. In short, the only person who could possibly have committed this crime is Barok van Zieks. None of this wrangling over the board changes that simple fact.
Quite so, quite so. Does the defense still wish to cross-examine the witnesses despite the circumstances? Most certainly, my lord. Very well, then you may proceed, counsel.
All right,
All
time
right.
to pick that one apart.
Yep, time to grill them like hamburgers again. Cross-examination time. Mystery of the moving board.
I don't know anything about that there nice ball. I just want my hand on it, that's all.
Hold it! So you admit that it was the board you wiped your bloody hand on?
Admit it? What's to admit? It's there plain as day. It's there plain as day for all to see. I smashed a print on my right hand.
Perhaps you wanted to hide that handprint, so you righted the notice board and pushed it into the corner, did you?
No, no. Imagine the weight of that great lump. Do I look like a powerful, well-nurtured man?
Well, did you see anybody else moving the board?
I've got nerves of steel, I can tell you, but even I have my limits. There was a body on the floor in front of me, and the Grim Reaper himself standing over it. And there was precious little light inside either. My bottom lip was all a quiver.
In other words, this witness is unable to give definite testimony on that point.
Yes, so it would seem.
Well, don't look at me. I haven't got a clue about it. I was doing business with some second years at the time.
Hold it! When you say you were doing business with them, you mean you were selling them fireworks?
Yeah, what else? There's a primary school just round the corner, see? Those cheeky little sword saws have got a plan to blow this school to kingdom come. So I've been telling on them, letting their teachers know what they're up to.
Oh, you have.
Yeah, wouldn't want anyone to get hurt, so I let the school know the kids are playing with dodgy toys. Then, praise the Lord, the teachers take all the fireworks off them. And then, praise the Lord again, the kids all come back to me to buy more. Everyone's happy, see?
What a racket.
Of course. And sometimes the teachers gives me a little bonus to thank me for letting them know. It's a busy old life, selling explosives.
Venus is a guileful goddess indeed.
Well, telling bare-faced lies is kind of my thing, really. I'm ever so good at it.
Excuse me. Something wrong, Mr. Sandwich? If I said it was, could we just leave it at that? Would that be the end of it? No. Did Ms. Venus's statement just now bring something to mind, perhaps? Philosophical thoughts. Deep philosophical thoughts. Huh? Let's say there was a great liar, and that the great liar said without batting an eye, telling barefaced lies is my kind of thing, I'm ever so good at it. Would those words of hers be a lie too, or the truth? In which case, she's not the liar. Oh, it's a hellish paradox, that one, don't you think? I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. But, it seems to me you're suggesting Miss Venus has been lying. Are you? He does.
What are you on about, old man? Trying to cause trouble, are you? Keep on like that, and I'll wrap your whole body in firecrackers and set 'em off. That'll get you something to tremble about.
You have a startlingly disturbing mind behind that sweet and innocent face, young lady. So Miss Venus has lied in her testimony. Is that what you're saying, Mr. Sandwich? Well, if it means I'll be burning in hellfire for the rest of my days, so be it. Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Can you elaborate, please, sir?
Old Blabbermouth here headed for the room where the gunshot seemed to come from. But there was someone else who crept up the stairs behind him, too. That's right. That rotten liar over there. Do you mean to say that you did in fact betake yourself to the scene of the crime after all?
What did I tell you, eh? I said I was good at telling bare-faced lies, didn't I?
Yes, you mentioned it.
Well, that revelation rocked the whole courtroom, didn't it?
Who knew firecrackers packed such a punch? So, you did indeed visit the scene of the crime, did you, young lady? Good grief!
Well, now you come to mention it, I suppose perhaps I do clearly remember climbing the stairs to the room, yeah?
Either you clearly remember it or you don't. Well, I shall consider a fitting punishment for this perjurious act later. For the time being, you will immediately amend your testimony to reflect the truth.
Oh yes, my lord, of course. Maybe I did sneak along behind gossip and have a little peek in the room where it all happened.
Hold it! You make a habit of lying, do you, Miss Venus?
Well, I suppose so. I don't really know, to be fair. You've got my advice, though. I take everything I say with a big pinch of salt.
All right. But you did, in fact, go to the room where the victim was killed on the day in question, didn't you?
Oh, please. As if I would. I can't think of anything more terrifying.
The truth, please.
Well, alright. Just a bit, then. I mean, a girl my age is curious about stuff, you know.
Did you touch anything at the scene?
Oh, please. As if I would. I mean, there was a dead body on the floor.
The truth, please.
Well, alright, just a bit then. I had to look to see if there was anything I could sell. So I did give the place a once over, but it was nothing to write home about.
Right. Now, I hesitate to ask, but you didn't move the notice board by any chance, did you?
I think she did.
Oh, please, as if I would touch anything like that. Just a few bits of loose change is all I had.
The truth, please.
Well, alright then. I thought there might be something worth having underneath it. So I blasted the flippin' thing. Sorry, flipped the blasted thing.
You're telling us that you did move that board!
I think that did slip out, didn't it?
You daft bodpot!
I don't believe it. The girl doesn't think. So, did you find anything then? Something that you might have taken, perhaps? To sell?
Oh, please, I should be sulking.
The truth! Now!
I might have found this old pocket watch under the notice board, I suppose. But a bit of junk like this can't be worth much if you ask.
Ah!
Ah! So it was you, was it? You're the one what took it.
Gina! Young lady, may I remind you where you are?
That watch there. That was a present to Inspector Gregson from the yard for a big case he solved 10 years ago.
The professor case, no doubt.
The boss used to wind it up every evening without fail when he was waiting for his grub to come at the pub.
I see.
I swiped it off him once and blimey was he upset. He gave me a right earful. Said he hadn't missed a day in the last 10 years, polishing it and winding it. It meant the world to him, that watch did.
Possibly not the best thing to go diving for, then.
It's not all that, though. I took it to Jabez that night to ask Harry what much it was worth, but the old dealer wouldn't touch it. Wouldn't give me a penny for it, say it wasn't working. Knocked about and worthless, he called it. Ah! I knew I should have lifted it.
That watch must be submitted as evidence at once.
Oh, please, just so long as you promise to give it back when we're done. Not a chance. I'll swipe it from you if you're going to try get your grubby mitts on it again.
That's enough. Hand the watch to the bailiff forthwith. Now, children, watch your manners. Good Lord. The glass appears to be broken.
More than likely, it shattered when the inspector was shot.
It doesn't trick anymore either. Which is why Jabez didn't want it. Why, say?
Yes, indeed. It appears to have stopped at the hour of 5. Stopped at the hour of 5?
Did it? No.
Exactly when the gunshot was heard, then.
Which supports the prosecution's claim, of course.
Gregson's pocket watch has been entered into the court record.
Inspector Gregson's pocket watch that he wound without fail every single day. It's no longer ticking, and the glass over the face is cracked.
Well, it would appear that the mystery of the moving notice board has been solved, at least.
And as predicted, it had very little bearing on the case.
Now then, continue with your cross-examination, please, counsel. I don't know anything about anything. I'm just a bystander to me, just a sign at the crossroads of life. Well, let's take a look at his pocket watch. The glass over the face really is badly cracked. Look.
What a shame when the inspector clearly looked after it so carefully.
I imagine Mr. Sholmes could repair it, don't you?
Yes, I should think so.
He's very adept at things like this. A useful man to have around, in fact.
But kindly remember that he's a great detective, Mr. Naruhodo, not an odd job man.
Would you look at that? There's a tiny little stub sticking out from this small hole here. Look.
I suppose there must have been a little knob or something or on that for setting the time.
In that case, seeing as we know the inspector took such good care of his watch, it probably broke when the incident occurred, didn't it?
Yes, of course.
Which could mean that there's a small part of the watch still at the scene, maybe. I don't know about that, but get a look at this.
Oh,
There's a tiny little keyhole here. Can you see?
Oh, yes, that's probably for the winder used to wind up the mechanism.
Looks a little unusual, don't you think?
Yes, you need just the right key to wind it, I imagine.
Why do I feel as though I've seen something? Something a bit like a key that's about the right size to fit in this hole.
Oh, it would be wonderful if we had the key. Let's check carefully over what we've already found. Well, we do.
We do, as a matter of fact. It's this guy.
The helmet of this charming policeman appears to be a little worse for wear.
I'm not convinced about the charming part, but yes, you're right. The head part looks like it's been fairly heavily manhandled. Almost as if somebody has enjoyed twisting it around and around for fun. Shall we try twisting it around and around too? For fun. Oh! What's that?
It appears to be some sort of key.
But it's tiny, though. It couldn't be a key for a door. Not at that size. So what is it for, I wonder?
It's for the watch.
Yep. Can't find anything out of place because I didn't click on the right thing. Mr. Sato, do you think perhaps this key could be the key for Inspector Gregson's watch?
Oh, yes, it could be. Let's try it at once. There's not a moment to lose.
Oh, I knew it. A perfect fit.
And look, the inspector's watch has started going again.
So it has obviously just not been wound up, that's all. What is it, Mr. Sato?
Well, if the watch isn't actually broken after all, I have a feeling it could have profound implications.
Oh, yeah. She's deep in thought now. Perhaps I'd better start thinking deeply, too. Details of Gregson's pocket watch have been updated in the court record.
Having wound it up, it started ticking again.
All right.
Let's keep going.
All right, so are we going to grill this guy?
Let's see what story says.
Yeah, at this point.
What's that right, Bobby? He's got to face that screen's board.
I can't see how this changes anything in any way. The detective still died when we heard the gunshot. And then we're going to ring the watch. Objection! I'm afraid that's not necessarily the case. Oh. At the scene, we found this key to the winder of the inspector's pocket watch.
A key?
And having wound the pocket watch, we discovered that it in fact still works. You see, the watch didn't stop because it was broken at all. And that fact completely undermines one of the most fundamental premises on which this entire case has been built.
What?
Order! Order! But counsel, the watch was stopped at almost exactly 5 o'clock.
Yeah, which is just when we had that gunshot.
Yes, exactly the hour.
The time that was showing on the watch tells us nothing other than when it wound down. It's merely a coincidence that it happened to be at 5 o'clock.
Objection. Even if that's true, the three witnesses here all heard the gunshot at 5 o'clock. So that's obviously when this crime was committed.
Objection! No, that doesn't hold.
Why not?
Recall what Inspector Lestrade said only moments ago.
The boss used to wind it up every evening without fail when he was waiting for his grub to come at the pub. Said he ain't missed a day in the last 10 years, polishing it and winding it. Meant it well to him, that watch did.
The victim was in the habit of winding his watch once a day, in the evening. We can reasonably assume, therefore, that he wound the timepiece on the evening before he died as well. Yes, that would be entirely reasonable. But if that's the case, you wouldn't expect the watch to have completely wound down by 5 o'clock the following day.
Oh, what?
Well, how do you explain it then?
In summary, the evening before the day of the incident, when the gunshot rang out in that room, the inspector was already unable to wind his watch.
You can't mean...
What would stop a man winding his watch if he's been in the habit of winding it every single evening for 10 years? The obvious answer is that he was already dead. Whoa, this is... Whoa. Order! Counsel, that is a most extraordinary claim.
Objection! Extraordinary isn't the word. It's absurd. You claim he was already dead the night before. Do you really think that Scotland Yard's coroner would have overlooked something like that?
Huh? Well,
On that subject, there is something rather surprising.
yeah.
There is actually an omission in the coroner's report. The time of death is not noted.
Ah, that's right.
Wait a minute. You forget that my legs went from under me when I kicked the door in.
What do you mean?
Look, I said, I'm playing my head in a dirty great bottle of blood.
Yes? So the victim's blood hadn't dried. It was fresh.
He gets it on fast, doesn't he?
Objection! But that blood could be explained in any number of ways. It could have been put there afterwards. Some fresh blood could have been poured over the victim's body after...
Objection! Does my learned friend think that fresh blood is available on every street corner?
Huh?
Well, it needn't necessarily have been human blood, of course.
We've been told previously that that Scotland Yard has no way to identify blood as human.
The problem is currently being researched. At present, you are correct. It is beyond our abilities. So then, a chicken's blood could have been used, for example.
It's certainly a possibility that it wasn't the inspector's blood at all.
Objection!
Objection! But the gunshot was heard at 5 o'clock that afternoon. That's beyond question.
Is it, though?
What?
Given that the time of death of the victim has already been called into question, it isn't beyond the realms of possibility that what these witnesses heard wasn't a gunshot at all.
Oh, please, what are you trying to say?
Us lot know what we heard, and it was a loud bang that came from that damn room.
No, you listen to me. A street solicitor is a livelihood. I don't doubt your ears, sir, but all you can state with certainty is that you heard a noise.
Aye?
Explain yourself then, counsel. A noise that sounds like a gunshot could have been made with...
George!
All together, everybody. The Venus firecracker.
Take that!
Well, the culprit could have used something like this, for example. Oh, really? A demonstration is in order then, I feel. What?
Yes, please, show the court how you could use that to create a noise like a gunshot.
We're waiting, counsel. I may have been mistaken.
It looks like you've been making a lot of noise yourself, Mr. Naruhodo.
Ah!
Let's try it again.
Kazuma's got a devastating way with words in English, too.
I realize it may be difficult to retract what you said and present some different evidence, but perhaps...
Yes, I was thinking the same thing myself. That's because I'm convinced there is some evidence that could produce a similar noise. Explain yourself then, counsel. A noise that sounds like a gunshot could have been made with... Alright, what the hell was it? Oh...
Forgot that.
I forgot something.
Have you had an idea, Miss Naruhodo? You're staring at the end of the string of fireworks.
Sorry, it's just that it's the Venus special. I was wondering what 600 pence worth of fireworks would sound like.
Shall we find out?
What? But she said it could blow up the courtroom. Boom. All right. That was a fairly sizable bang.
My ears are still ringing, Miss Naruhodo. It sounded almost exactly like...
The details of the Venus firecracker have been updated in the court record.
It goes off like a gunshot.
That's what we forgot to do.
Yeah, now you can present
Now I can present it.
Take that!
Take that. Something like this. The culprit could have set off one of these to fake a gunshot. Good gracious. The very fireworks that are sold by the witness.
Now hold on a minute. Aren't you saying I did it? I print little firecrackers on the little pop anyway. See?
Not 100 of them together. The Venus special that you sell for 600 pennies sounds like this. As the court can now attest, it sounds very much like a gunshot, in fact.
You're trying to suggest that somebody set one of those fireworks off at the scene?
I'm suggesting that somebody knew the defendant was in the room at 5 that day and sought to implicate him by creating a sound like a gunshot for these peddlers on Fresno Street to hear.
Objection!
Objection! But even the accused himself has testified that he saw no one else in the room at the time. Whether it was a gun or firecracker, the only person present to cause that bang was Barok van Zieks.
One whiff of a match and my firecrackers go pop. See? It's why people like them.
I fear for your fingers, young lady.
Objection!
Objection! Recently, during my time here in Britain, I've learnt of a very useful invention indeed. something called a time bomb. Good heavens, a bomb? Yes, a device that allows you to blow up whatever you like, whenever you like.
Mr. Naruhodo, I worry that your unfortunate phrasing there may lead to yet another international incident.
No, wait. It's the whenever you like part that's important.
A timed device?
Yes, exactly. A timed device. Something of that nature could have been planted at the scene. A device that was able to produce the sound of a gunshot long after the culprit had left. Your extravagant claim will have to be substantiated with evidence, counsel. What proof do you have to suggest in any way that a timed device was employed to create the gunshot sound? I'm thinking it was the candelabra, but let's double check that. Yep, I was right. Take that. As the court has already discussed, the tip of one of the candles in this candelabrum has been blown off. Indeed, because it was struck by the bullet, which presumably passed through the victim. I don't think that's possible, my lord.
Not possible? Why?
Because of the scorching. There are gunpowder scorch marks clearly visible on the broken candle. There are? Goodness, yes. But is it not the case that there was also scorching on the victim around the bullet entry wound? That's right, there was. But as we heard earlier, scorching like that only occurs when the target is at very close range, a matter of centimeters from the gun. Which means that the scorching on the candle can't possibly be the result of a gunshot.
You're suggesting it came from the fireworks?
What could it be, eh?
The fact that there's such visible scorching on the candle suggests that the fireworks must have been right next to it when they exploded. Or to put it another way, the candle and firecrackers were joined together. The culprit somehow attached the firecrackers at a point partway down the candle. After the killer had left the scene, the candle slowly burnt down along with the other two, until eventually it ignited the fuse of the firecrackers, generating a loud elementary. And that is how these three witnesses came to believe they'd heard a gunshot at 5 o'clock. Well, what a plot. And this implies that the victim could have died earlier than we've been led to believe. The previous day, even.
No, just hold your horses. All us like there saw the victim go into the building, remember?
I couldn't forget that flame-colored hair even if I wanted to. The person you saw entering the building wasn't the victim at all. Consider this. Obviously, anybody can wear a wig, so the person that these witnesses saw entering the building 15 minutes before the incident occurred could easily have been someone else entirely wearing the red hairpiece. Someone else? Do you mean to say it was the same person who contrived the firecracker trick? In other words, Inspector Gregson's killer!
Oh, very impressive, Ryunosuke Naruhodo.
Kazuma!
I'm really quite amazed you've come this far. But after all, wasn't I the one who told you that you had all the makings of a great defense lawyer?
Huh?
I also noted the lack of a time of death in this report, a stark omission. But as far as I'm concerned, this whole country's justice system leaves a lot to be desired.
What the heck is he talking about now? Order! Order! Prosecutor Asogi! What on earth do you mean by that statement?
I hear that many of the leading members of Britain's judiciary are present to observe this trial today. So we cannot allow even the slightest doubt to be overlooked.
Huh?
The defense's assertion about the time of death based on the victim's stopped watch is just conjecture. But while the possibility exists that my learned friend may be correct, we have a duty to explore it.
Well, certainly, I would agree with you.
And what immediately comes to mind is, of course, what was Inspector Gregson doing and where did he go on the day before the incident?
Do you know?
The inspector always carried out his investigative work alone. His movements were treated as confidential within Scotland Yard.
Even within the yard?
However, considering the evidence we've been presented with so far, I'd say it's fairly apparent what case the man was pursuing. Wouldn't you, my learned friend? I do have a feeling about what case he might have been investigating.
Yes, I agree. Surely. My lord, the defense believes it can explain to the court the case that was being investigated by Inspector Gregson at the time of his death. Very well, counsel. Present your argument to the court. What evidence is suggestive of the case being investigated by the inspector on the day prior to the incident? Take that! I believe this red hairpiece points to the answer. We might assume it was part of a disguise used to carry out an undercover investigation. Surely not. Such a brightly colored hairpiece would only serve to make the inspector more noticeable. Yes, that's quite true. It would definitely have made him stand out in a crowd. Except, that is, in a crowd of gentlemen from the Red-Headed League. The Red-Headed League?
So, you'd already worked it out.
What on earth is this all about? Is there such an extraordinary league of gentlemen?
The Red-Headed League is currently under investigation for a grand deception.
A deception of what nature, counsel?
They've been targeting red-headed men across all of London and tricking them out of small sums of money. 2 men were arrested for the misdemeanor only yesterday, in fact.
My lord, the defense calls for those 2 men to be summoned at once. 2 redheads? Inspector Gregson clearly infiltrated the Red-Headed League using this hairpiece, so it's very likely that he had direct contact with these criminals. And it's quite possible that such contact led to more serious events. I concur that we cannot in good conscience leave this new avenue unexplored.
Well done, Mr. Norhodo.
Well, it's another possible line of inquiry for us at least. The prosecution will make immediate arrangements for the charged men to appear. Bring these 2 Red-Headed League conspirators before me, Prosecutor Asogi.
At once, my lord.
Very good. We will have a 30-minute recess. Court is adjourned.
Quite a revelation indeed.
Yeah. So we're going to hear from those 2 bozos then.
To be continued.
Well, we got 20 minutes left, but I've got a feeling that we're going to be spending more.
Yeah, so looks like, and now another hour and a half, perhaps. Let's go. Yeah, why not, man? Let's see what happens.
Da-da-da-da-da-da! Charge! 2nd of November, 12:33 p.m. The Old Bailey, defendant's antechamber.
Oh, there you are, Otto.
What kept you, my dear fellow? Hello, Mr. Sholmes. Gina?
You sure about what you said in there? That the boss, actually died the day before? Pretty hard to swallow.
Yes, I was shocked by the revelation too, Gina.
As was I, possibly more shocked than both of you. It's not a competition, Mr. Sholmes. I was more shocked than all of you put together. This is the autopsy report in question, is it? Yes. It's strange that there's no time of death noted. I suppose there's a simple explanation. Or perhaps it was a deliberate omission.
Oh dear. If it was deliberate, it puts me in mind of the last case we worked on. And Dr. Scythe.
I know. Anyway, it seems that on the day before Lord Van Zieks discovered his body, Inspector Gregson was investigating the Red-Headed League, so perhaps something happened with them. Come to think of it, you had trouble with those League men too, didn't you, Mr. Sholmes? You were taken in by their trick. No. Naturally, I wasn't taken in, as you put it. My sleuth-hound interest was merely piqued slightly by the rare scent of a weekly £4 income.
Piked, rather.
And that scent masked the underlying scent of deception, I suppose.
The two criminals in question are the pair we saw being arrested yesterday, aren't they? In Mr. Sholmes' suite, I mean.
It's right, Sis, and it was me what took him in. Thanks to a tip-off by a good law-abiding citizen.
Indeed, yours truly. So it's gonna be that pair in the witness stand next, is it? Something doesn't quite make sense to me, though. The day before Inspector Gregson was found, you hadn't had trouble with the Red-Headed League yet, had you? Why would the inspector have been investigating them? Well, the likely explanation would be that Gregson's own sleuth-hound interest was piqued by the rare scent of a weekly £4 income.
Had time with the same brush as you, Sholmes.
Yes, well, and there's the whole issue of Inspector Gregson being investigated by Lord Van Zieks for some reason.
The Reaper, the Red-Headed League, Inspector Gregson, Lord Van Zieks.
And Kazuma. I feel as though he knew we'd arrive at this point somehow.
Gosh, I think you're right.
What's he really trying to achieve here today? All the answers will soon be revealed. Observe the time, my dear fellow. This recess will be over very shortly. Yes, you're right. Oh boy, here we go. Kazuma was determined that he should be the one to prosecute this trial, and he was determined that I should take the defense. Just what is it that he's hoping to make me see, I wonder? I get the feeling we're a long way from the end of this trial yet.
Oh, we are indeed.
Are you ready then, Mr. Sato?
Yes. All right, back to court, everyone.
Anybody need to take a break or anything?
Nah, I'm good. 2nd of November, 1:00 p.m., the Old Bailey courtroom. All rise.
In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session again. We resume the closed court hearing of Barok van Zieks, here present, who stands accused of murder. Now then, Prosecutor Asogi.
My lord?
Have you summoned the witnesses as requested?
Yes, the two members of the Red-Headed League who planned and carried out their deception. They arrived not long ago from the local prison by police carriage.
Very good. Bailiff, usher the two men into the courtroom. Oh boy. I don't think he has like Pearl's voice. Anyway.
These two men are currently being held by the police on suspicion of attempted extortion. You may omit your occupations, but state your names now for the court.
I am Fabien de Rossol, a descendant of the great de Rossol family from Nice, in France.
And my name is Pepino de Rossi. I am the third son of the great Familia de Rossi,
the landowners from Napoli.
The two men first became acquainted at a boarding school for European nobility.
Those who graduate from Temisk are the future leaders of Europe. But, do you have any idea how boring it is to be born with noble blood? A law. I make it my mission to get the better of the world by employing the little grey cells of my brain. That is all I am trying to do. So, that's the only reason for this whole grand deception you've been carrying out. Oui, you could say that.
Not bad, eh? Here's the grand ideas about the petty plans. This strange combination is the charm of the Hilarious brothers.
Hilarious brothers? What?
What? See? Couple?
Listen to me, Peppino. I have two things to say to you.
Eh? Okay? Are you about to tell me one of your grand anecdotes? Eviva!
Firstly, I want you to stop calling me this capo. And secondly, we are not the Hilarious brothers. This is serious business.
Che bello! There it is, the couple's number card, the furrow of the brow. It is deep, couple, the furrow and the meaning of your words.
The court has been led to believe that under the banner of the Red-Headed League, you have conspired to swindle money from unsuspecting members of the public. Is this true? Oui, c'est ça. C'est que.
C'est ça.
Okay, I was right the first time. And what exactly was the... I'm sorry. And what exactly was the nature of this deception by which you plan to defraud? A law. I will explain it.
No, capo, leave it to me. As you see, we both have the vividity here, no? At the school, we would tease the visits without the pity. The couple here, he was many times beyond the schoolhouse crying like the Trevi fountain. Ah, those dogs! One day he worked with the inspector's red hands. Every night he would bury his head in his pillow.
Sebian, Peppino. Enough! I will explain the rest. The first step was a newspaper advertisement. About 1 week before the plan was put into operation, we listed the same notice in every paper in London. Yes, we saw that notice. It was this one, I believe, entitled To the Red-Headed League. Oui, c'est ça. I am honored that you have seen it. It states that the only condition for joining the league is having flame-colored hair, and that if you satisfy the interview panel and are admitted into the league, you could receive a weekly income of £4.
On the date specified, red-headed hopefuls gathered in droves at a park specified in the advertisement. And from each person present, this pair took an application fee of 5 shillings.
And with the money to France. It was a plan most elegant, no?
No, it was most dishonorable. But to be frank, I'm stunned anybody was foolish enough to be taken in by such an obvious trick.
The park was described by one witness as choked with red-headed folk like a coster's orange barrel.
And the day on which all these men gathered to apply was the day before the victim was discovered. Crucially, these two men spoke face to face with every single person present that day.
Oui, I've seen more red-headed people in one day than I will see in the rest of my life.
See, and now every time I see the couple's hair, I feel sick to my stomach.
Anyway, why have we been summoned here today? Sorry? The date for our trial was not until tomorrow, I was told.
Naturally, neither of these men have been told any details about this trial. They've only been shown this photograph.
Very good. So, Mr. de Rousseau and Mr. de Rossi, you will now give your formal testimony to the court on the subject of the gentleman pictured in this photograph. Of course, we are always ready with the law. Why the hell did you break it, dumbasses? Witness testimony. The man in the photograph. We had more than 1,000 red-headed people assembled in the park on Lime Street that day.
But I don't recall the man in this photograph. A couple?
No, I don't remember him. Obviously, he's dead now. But I assure you, he was not in the park.
Alora, this victim has nothing to do with us.
You have a lot to answer for, Peppino. It is your fault that we got caught in the first place. And we get caught.
You've given sworn testimony that this man in the photograph was not present. Can you be certain?
We, I am quite certain, we did not interview this man.
Nobody looking like that this came to the park. This like a promise.
It must be noted that you have been arrested for a grand deception, however. Accordingly, this court has little confidence in your assurances.
Offer, with this attitude, we get to nowhere, huh?
He's really a sulking now.
This confidential document was obtained directly from Scotland Yard. It records an entry from the inspector's private diary dated the day before the incident. It reads, Lime Street, Red-Headed League, undercover.
Ah, I have the answer. Maybe there was another similar event in the park on the day in question, eh?
That is ridiculous. There's no question Inspector Gregson was investigating the Red-Headed League, which means it's quite possible that's when he was killed. Very well, the defense may proceed with the cross-examination now. Yes, my lord.
Well, here we go.
Boy.
Well, these guys like hamburgers, I suppose.
Yep.
Man in the photograph.
We had more than 1,000 red-headed people assembled in the park on Lime Street that day. Hold it! 1,000 people? That's a very big crowd. It was quite a spectacle. Red-headed column all over the capital.
See, the couple here, he has the magnetismo normale. Nobody else could attack so many people. If I could be one again, I would be the couple.
All those people wanted was the money, Peppino. The £4 per week. Are you suggesting that you spoke personally with all 1,000 applicants? Oui, that we did. Because every one of them paid us 5 shillings.
We take the names and we take the money. And we take their addresses as well. Then I tell them we take some dates, let them know by your post. Finito. Maybe 2 minutes a person. We start early in the morning and we stop late in the odd night.
So, you earned 5,000 shillings in one day? That's a small fortune.
Who would have thought there were 1,000 such gullible redheads in London to start with?
One of whom was a great detective with chemically altered hair.
But I don't recall the man in this photograph, I couple.
Hold it!
Hold it! He doesn't look at all familiar?
No, I don't think so. And this is the wig guy. He was trying to trick us. I do not like the people who are trying to trick the other people.
Says the con artist.
If between them there interviewed 1,000 people with red hair, it would be unreasonable to expect them to remember every face.
No, signal. I may be small, but my memories are very large. I never forget a thing. In my opinion, I do not think this man was in the park.
But he's not gonna give the court a definite, it seems.
Hey, couple, you didn't see a man like this, huh?
No, I don't remember him. And obviously he's dead now. But I assure you, he was not in the park.
Hold it!
Hold it! But according to what you've said, you spoke with 1,000 or more people that day. Oui, that's true. My eyes were burning by the end of the day. Surely then, you can't actually remember every single face. How are you so certain that this particular man wasn't present?
Normally, the red hair is very distinctive, eh? But not when you have 1,000 that's crawling around, then it is just an eyesore. But if there was some other information you could give us, maybe then we could recall.
That is not the line, Peppino. Remember, we do not remember him. We are sure of that fact, huh? What?
What?
If there was a man with a red earpiece, but his mustache did not match the color, then I do not think I could have forgotten him. Kazuma said these two had only been shown that photograph and had been told nothing else at all. But what if I fed them just one other detail about the victim? For example, his profession. I can certainly appreciate that just knowing the man had red hair wouldn't help you remember this situation. But what if I told you that the man in the red hairpiece was actually a detective? Is the man in the photograph a detective? Yes.
It would appear he found your notice in the paper suspicious and decided to investigate incognito.
Sorry, but this changes nothing.
Yeah?
Excuse me.
Excuse me. Something to add, Mr. DeRossi?
Yeah? See, I am always adding something. Parmesan, olive oil, pepper.
What I mean is, did you not agree with your friend's last remark by any chance?
Eh? What did he just say about the detective?
Yes, that. Keep your mouth shut, Peppino. You have said enough already.
But why, Capo? What is the problem? There was a man who said, I am an inspector from Scotland Yard.
What? Good Lord. Order! Order! Explain this volte-face in your testimony, witnesses.
It's simple. The man who was at the park said to us that he...
There was no such man.
Mate, what did he say to Capo? Have you forgotten, eh?
I have forgotten nothing. Nobody likes these games at the park.
Basta, Capo, basta! You beat me at that many things, but not true. The memory and the meals. Like I said, when it's time to eat the pasta, no one is faster.
But you are inferior. But you are inferior to me in every other way. So shut up.
Objection.
Objection. Choctard. The damage is done.
Totard. Too late.
Indeed it is, sir. There was a man who came to the park, and he said he was an inspector from Scotland Yard. However, he looked nothing like the man in the photograph. He was someone else. How can you be so sure? Because, to start with, his face was completely different.
See, it's true, it's true. The man who came was a younger. His face was clean shaven, his eyes were sadder, his chin was thinner.
No resemblance whatsoever, then.
Wait a minute now.
Oh, hang on a second. Anyway, I was not going to be fooled. I took the obvious precaution and said to him, if you are really a detective, show us the proof.
See, the couple here, he doesn't take no nonsense, eh?
But he was well prepared. He said he had identification. Identification? You mean official police inspector's identification? That is most unconvincing. Sorry, my lord? Counsel, no incognito inspector would offer his identification for inspection. It's quite out of the question.
Definitely. Why would he expose his true identity?
Clearly, the papers were fake.
Certo capo, you're a genius! As we say in Italia, it takes a saver to recognize another, eh?
And what happened after he announced that he was a detective? It became very annoying. He said you were under investigation. So I took his papers from him and chased him out of the park.
It was fantastico! And look, here is the identification!
So you stole it from the man?
He had it to come in. He made us very scared. But he was not who he said he was.
Indeed, the person described does not appear to have behaved as a true inspector would. However, I believe it would be prudent for these identification papers to be entered into evidence.
But I like them.
The inspector's identification has been entered into the court
The
record.
identification of a man claiming to be a detective inspector confiscated by Mr. De Rosso and Mr. De Rossi.
Now, let us return to the witness's testimony.
Let's take a look at that thing.
Yep,
Oh, Laura, this victim has nothing to do with us.
that's a lie. Can't find anything out of place.
Why?
Well, I suppose we should see what this inspector's identification looks like inside.
What the?
Yes, definitely looks fake, doesn't it?
Out of interest, what name is given?
Probably just something plucked out of the air. It's Tobias Gregson. Wait, what?
This Scotland Yard insignia looks genuine to me.
But how?
And the department and identification number details are all correct as well.
Since when have you known those? Do you mean to say?
I know it seems incredible, but yes, I think this is a genuine identification book issued by Scotland Yard.
But that's unbelievable. This is the real thing after all? The details of the inspector's identification have been updated in the court
Inspector
record.
Gregson's police identification. It's the official warrant card issued to him by Scotland Yard. Well, present it then. At least I think.
Well,
Hold it!
hold it. But we only have your word for that.
See, but what else can we do, huh?
True.
Uffa, we are not having much fun these days. At first we are arrested, then we are shown the horrible picture of a dead man, and now you question every single thing we say. We are the victims here. Aye, couple?
No, you were caught carrying out a plot to swindle hundreds of innocent people.
Huh? Huh? You had to bring that up, eh? It's not fair. Aye, couple?
You have a lot to answer for, Peppino. It is your fault that we got caught in the first place. Hold it! What do you mean by that?
Cavolo, you promised not to say, aye, couple?
After we had taken all the money that day, we should have left the country. That was my plan. I left the purchasing of the tickets for the ferry to Dunkirk to my companion here. But he bought them for the wrong day. Oops.
See, but it is an easy mistake to make, the 31st.
Poof! I have no sympathy for you. We were all day late for the boat because of your stupidity. And it's only because of this that the called great red-headed detective caught us.
Couple, you know what I think? This is the work of God. It's only punishment, aye?
Peppino, for the last time. This is not only punishment. This is only your fault.
Ah,
Don't blame God for your unholy mistakes. You're making me sick with anger.
maybe I make a mistake, but when time is to eat the pasta, no one is the faster.
And I've seen the evidence. They haven't told us much we didn't already know.
What do you think, Mr. Narhado?
Well, if it was in the inspector's diary, it seems likely that he must have gone to Lime Street that day. And yet, these two both claim they didn't see him.
I have to say, they don't appear to be telling lies.
Well, they are experts in deception, don't forget. Sounding plausible is their speciality. They may be lying simply to avoid being implicated in this case as well.
Surely, if they were truly experts in deception, they wouldn't have been caught.
Well, yes, you do have a point there. It seems to me like we need more information.
Definitely. Well, geez. Okay, what kind of more information?
So I'm just gonna let story mode go, and we're just gonna keep going. So, no, I don't remember him, and obviously he's dead now, but I assure he was not in the park. Laura, this victim has nothing to do with us. Bullshit.
Objection!
Objection!
I was right.
I wonder if I could ask you to examine this identification book very closely. Miss Lestrade?
Why Miss Lestrade?
What is your intention here, Counsel? Is this really a fake, or is it genuine? That's the question, which we can't answer ourselves.
Objection!
Objection! Don't be ridiculous. No Scotland Yard detective would allow his or her identification to be stolen.
Hold it.
Hold it. That is the boss's. No question about it.
It can't be!
As I suspected, the undercover detective who attended the Red-Headed League's enrollment on the day in question was the real Inspector Gregson, carrying out an incognito investigation. The Lord!
What the
Order!
But if a boss had his identification stolen, he would have reported it straight away. I mean, he was always on me about it. If you lose something, report it once, he'd say.
Could it be, then, that the inspector was physically unable to report it?
Physically? What are you saying? Unable to? You're not suggesting...
Yes! It's quite possible that he was killed before he had the chance to report his identification stolen.
No!
Order! The defense posits that the victim was killed the day before his body was discovered at a different location. Do you two have anything to say about that?
I know nothing! I done nothing!
Pull yourself together, Peppino. Mon Dieu, you can behave a little more like a bastard criminal than that, no?
No, I wish I had to return to Italia!
Stop crying, Peppino, please. Otherwise,
Mama, stop your whining and start talking.
Well, I believe the court will need to hear you.
I know nothing! I don't know nothing! But you will tell everything, or face the worst possible outcome.
You will dry your eyes and testify again about these identification papers and the precise circumstances under which you came by them. For crying out loud. Oh, jeez. Witness testimony. Detective and the identification. The truth is, we took him prisoner and kept him for the night in our secret hideout. Even though I didn't think there was a real detective, I was too scared to let him go that day, just in case.
We took the man's identification from him and then shot him in the next room next to ours.
There might have been a little tussle, but we did him no harm, and the next morning we let him go.
He spent the night in a nice room. He wasn't acting like a prison, really.
This is outrageous. You imprisoned the man.
But no, it was not like a prison. It was very comfortable and calm and happy. I couple?
It was never a part of my plan. I swear it.
Uffa! So you think it wasn't my fault, eh? Just because I got the date of the ferry wrong by one little day?
I do not think it was your fault, Peppino. I know it.
No. Per favor, capo. It's not fair.
You shall have plenty of time for squabbling back at the prison, gentlemen. Oof! I don't believe this. How could he have been a real detective? Counsel for the defense, proceed with the cross-examination. So on the day before the incident, Gregson spent the night confined in this pair's hideout? Well, we're gonna find out something. Cross-examination time.
Detective and the identification.
I know what to hold them on. Comes for night their secret hideout. Even though I didn't think he was a real detective, too scared to let him go.
You took the man to the identification room and shut him in the next room to us.
There might have been a little tussle, but we did him no harm. The next morning we let him go. Hold it! What do you mean by a little tussle exactly? Huh? Buff, nothing. Just a manual incident.
Il falso Inspector, he was really pissed at the work. I couple.
What happened?
It was a disaster. We gave him a nice room, and what does he do, huh? In the middle of the night, he tries to escape a dose of ventilator.
Can you blame him? We chased him, Basil, and we caught him again.
Can you blame us?
Wait! You didn't shoot the man in your haste, did you? That, what do you think we are? Of course not! I simply caught hold of him again and took him back to the room.
Oh,
Excuse me.
Excuse me. Mr. DeRossi, is something wrong?
Me?
Something Mr. DeRousseau just said seemed to make you, act even more strangely than usual. What was that all about?
Cavolo, at times like that, you do not want to have the couple after you, believe me. And I speak from personal experience.
Personal experience? That is enough, Peppino. There is no need to say more.
The truth is, the night before we put the related legal plan into action, I was scared. It was not fair to the couple, but I tried to run away.
It's a shame you didn't manage it.
But the couple here, he came after me like the turbine, huh? And he dragged me back into the house, kicking and screaming. I still have the bruises to prove it. Aye, couple?
Bruises, you say?
You wanna see, huh? You wanna see how my fantastic couple is?
That's enough now, Peppino. No one wants to look at any part of you.
What did you do, huh? I assure you, or I don't. I assure you, or I don't.
You do! Now!
Well, alright, if everybody wants to see you, then now you do it. Echo, you see? He's still very visible, eh?
That red ring around your neck, you got that when you were dragged back to the house?
See? The couple sometimes he is very rough.
I said that's enough! Peppino's neck is nothing to do with what you're talking about here. You have my word. Yes? What is your opinion, counsel? About this red ring around Mr. DeRossi's neck? I wonder, does it matter?
Oh, it's
important. Mr. DeRossi, I'm gonna have to ask you to amend your testimony with details about that mark on your neck.
Hey, couple, you see? Everyone is interested in what I say, huh?
Ugh. Very well. You will amend your testimony as requested, Mr. DeRossi.
See, if you really want to know. You tried to escape, but the couple put the collar on him and dragged the back, like what he did to me, see?
Yep.
The collar, huh?
Objection.
Objection! So the day before his body was discovered, Inspector Gregson was taken prisoner while working incognito. No, it was not like that. It was earlier prison. It was an invitation to stay. It was only. However you describe it, there's one glaring inconsistency that remains. What inconsistency is this, counsel? I would ask the court to look closely at this photograph of the victim, Inspector Gregson, and again, doesn't make us laugh. You will see that there is no red ring visible around his neck.
But that makes no sense. It was me who took the collar off the man in the morning. And I saw the red bruises on his neck, just like I have.
Given that the mark is still clearly visible on this witness's neck, we'd expect to see bruising on the victim who was put in the collar more recently than Mr. DeRossi. Indeed, that is most peculiar.
But what do we tell you, huh? Huh? We see that this from at the beginning many times.
Oui, Peppino is right. The man in the photograph is a one different to the man we held captives at night. Order! Order! Order!
It would appear then that on the day before the incident, the man who visited the park on Lime Street posing as an incognito inspector was not Inspector Gregson at all.
Objection!
Objection! If that's true, however, how do you explain the inspector's identification?
Huh?
This is a genuine identification book issued by Scotland Yard. It's inconceivable that someone could have stolen such an important item from the inspector. The prosecution made that assertion itself. Ugh.
And we also know that the inspector had made a note about the Red-Headed League in his diary for that day, which surely means we cannot divorce the two events completely.
The inconsistency noted by the defense is most troubling. If it were the real Inspector Gregson with whom these two red-headed gentlemen encountered, the fact that no bruising can be seen around his neck defies explanation.
But equally, if they actually encountered an imposter, how did that person come to be in possession of the real inspector's identification?
Does the defense have some plausible explanation, counsel? The whole thing defies explanation.
It is for precisely these occasions that we keep meticulous notes in the court record, Mr. Naruhodo, because those are the facts, and the facts cannot lie.
No, facts can't lie. Even when they point to something so incredible, it's almost unbelievable. Well, my lord, the true identity of the person who turned up in the park for the Red-Headed League's enrollment is revealed by information in the court record, I believe. Good gracious.
Very tantalizing, Mr. Naruhodo. So why don't you help us all to see whatever truth it is that you've apparently seen? Who exactly was this inspector that appeared before Mr. DeRosso and Mr. DeRossi?
An imposter.
Yep.
Though it seems incredible, I admit the undeniable facts point to only one thing. Since no bruising can be seen on the victim's neck, the person who these two red-headed men took prisoner that day cannot have been Inspector Gregson.
In other words, your whole argument up to now has been a waste of time.
Objection! On the contrary, I haven't finished.
What?
There's no bruising on the victim's neck, so the question immediately posed next is, who exactly was this man in the park on Lime Street found to be carrying Inspector Gregson's identification?
Ooh.
See, that's right. We tell the same story every time. Whoever this man was, the couple talked from the pillar to a post with the dog collar.
Mon Dieu, Peppino, I was not so harsh as you say, huh?
Was that the false inspector? Who was he?
Clearly, the defense has an idea about that. About the true identity of the man these two imprisoned that night.
I must ask the counsel for the defense to elaborate post-haste. Who did the witnesses encounter in the park posing as Inspector Gregson?
It can only be one man.
All together, everybody. Mr. Gossip. Take that! Goodness me. Isn't that one of the witnesses who was in the stand at this very courtroom earlier today? A nameless man whose only occupation appears to be peddling hearsay to passers-by.
Objection! What on earth would a street seller be doing with a police inspector's identification papers? Witnesses! Is this the man or not?
What has happened to his lip?
Ah! See, this man is not for the Red-Headed League, eh? He's looking for the Twisted Lip League, no?
Perhaps rather than making such a rash claim next time, you should bite your lip instead.
It seems improbable, yes, but one undeniable fact remains. During his testimony earlier, I noted something around the man's neck. A red ring of bruising.
Ooh.
Eh?
What?
The defense demands that Mr. Gossip be brought back to the stand.
What? How? Why? What on earth?
Order! Order! Bailiff, bring the aforementioned witness back into the courtroom immediately.
Here we go.
Yep, there he is.
Yep.
Well, I never. An undeniable ring of bruising indeed, and identical to that of the witness beside him.
Now what's going on here, eh? I've always had this me. It's a birthmark, isn't it?
A birthmark, you say?
I assume the reason you've been recalled to the stand has been explained to you?
Why, some might about an inspector again, but I'm telling you, you got it all wrong as usual.
You're denying all knowledge of it.
Well, of course I am. You're trying to kill me with all this nonsense, eh?
Well, at least you'll have more stories to peddle back on Fresno Street, won't you? Now, we're gonna need you to testify again.
And you, Mr. Rousseau and Mr. Rossi, I'm sure you'll cooperate, won't you? Do we have any choice?
We had in the big trouble, eh, couple?
That's quite enough.
Dilatory.
That's quite enough dilatory chatter. Proceed with the testimony.
Here we go. Now we get to
the heart of the matter. Witness testimony. The inspector and the identification revisited. The man who came to be an inspector that day was definitely not this man.
He's right, see? You think we would have forget these kind of lips, huh? I never leave Fresno Street, alright? I've no interest in any red-headed lady. I'm all alone in the world, me. I've no kinfolk or nothing. Why would I be involved in something like that? Just look at me, eh? Does it look like I can carry off a disguise with a face like this?
Yes, as a matter of fact, you could. It would certainly appear that we have the wrong man. What have I been telling you? There was no need for this pointless testimony.
It's right, I'm just a simple peddler, remember? Fresno Street's all I know. How would I have gone by a police inspector's identification book, eh?
Well, yes, that's hard to explain, but... a brief cross-examination, I think, counsel. Very brief. Isn't there anyone in this courtroom who thinks I might be onto something?
I stand steadfast at your side as always, Mr. Naruhodo.
Well, I'm just going to let story mode do the
That's
the
right,
talking.
yeah.
Because we're...
You gotta be brief.
The man who took into the inspectors that day was definitely not this man.
Is right, see? You think we're gonna forget this kind of lips, huh? I'll never leave Fresno Street, alright? No interest in any red-headed lady.
Hold it!
Hold it! So, you'd heard of the Red-Headed League, had you?
You don't get a name like gossip for nothing, eh? It's my business to know what's going off in town. I saw that tasty tidbit to a fair few redheads that came past me. Just between us, I even got serious to cough up for it. Well, he does have a very red nose, if that counts.
Who knows?
But as you can see, mine has not got hit or red in it. In any case, Fresno Street's my patch. You won't catch me slowing on some other part of town. No, sir, not one.
Is that so?
Excuse me.
Excuse me. Mr. de Rousseau. Can I help you? Did Mr. Gossip's words just now lead you to remember something relevant, perhaps? It was the other day, when I was looking for a place near the park. A small house or something.
To be the headquarters of your red-headed league, yes.
I visited an housing agent on Lime Street, and there I saw him. This man was paying money to the agent.
What?
Mr. Gossip with a housing agent? He had some kind of contract in his hand, and they were clearly discussing terms.
But no, you're mistaken, chum. I've never let Fresno street, mate. Like I said before, you mistaken me for someone else. Someone with the same face. No, the couple was there. Don't remember to do. He was the man with the back notes. With notes? Like I said, that wasn't me. It was a curious one. It's the man with the dirty clothes and so much money. So I looked at the name on the papers.
And what name was written? Mr. Gossip?
No, this man, he lies. He tells you that he has no name. But the fact is, the name is Hugh Boone, huh? He's better than Mr. Gossip, I think, see?
Oh, is it now?
Wow.
Looks like we found our landlord.
No! I'm a peddler of tidbits of information, like I said, on Fresno Street, and that's that. I don't much like folk talking about my personal life.
Indeed. And it is not the intention of the court to invade the privacy of witnesses.
Privacy.
Very well, I shall respect your wishes, sir. The aforementioned named shall be redacted from all court records of this trial, assuming no objection. Objection! I'm sorry, my lord, but the defense does object, because the name just mentioned has a very deep significance to this case. Good gracious. Do you similarly object, Prosecutor Asogi?
As it happens, my lord, that particular name has already been mentioned during today's proceedings.
Well, I never. In what capacity?
Hugh Boone, the name of the leaseholder of the room.
Let me put this very simply. The victim's body was discovered in your rented room.
I suggest, sir, that you start talking.
Well, alright. I suppose it might be the case,
So your real name is Hugh Boone?
Well, just between us, I don't like to blow my own trumpet, but there's no finer peddler of tidbits in town. So what? I happen to be able to afford a grubby old room in a falling down back street or townhouse.
You do?
And once every 6 months, I go and pay the rent to the agent on Light Street. I remember now. There were 2 vulgar redheads in there last time. If either of us is a vulgar, it's not to me.
Think again, Peppino.
Why didn't you bring this up before? It's like I told you already. I don't like talking about my personal life. I'm a deadbeat peddler as far as everyone else is concerned. No fuss.
You will update your testimony to include this most surprising revelation, Mr. Boone.
If I must.
So the leaseholder Scotland Yard's been looking for since the body was discovered has been here under our noses all along.
I rent the room with that fellow was found, it's true. What difference it makes? I'm all alone in the world, me. I've no kinfolk or nothing. Why would I be involved in something like that?
Well, how do you explain
This.
Now, what's that? If you have no kinfolk, as you put it, then explain why it is that among the sparse furnishings, we found this photograph in the room.
Oh,
I presume, as you've been renting the room, that this photograph belongs to you, does it not?
well,
Mr. Boone, drop the pretense and tell the court exactly who you really are.
I don't know what you mean. I'm a peddler. I'll keep telling you so. You really don't need to bother with me. Please, just leave it alone.
As the man says, leave it alone. Whatever the truth is about this man's life, it has no bearing on this case. Because it's simply not possible that he impersonated Inspector Gregson.
Objection!
Objection! How could you be so sure?
Just look at the man. No amount of disguise could ever hide those unmissable features.
Objection! But what if we were to look at this the other way around?
What do you mean?
Yes, counsel, what do you mean? Get a load of that music.
Yes.
Well, there's no denying that Mr. Boone's lip is very prominent indeed. But consider the possibility that his prominent lip is itself part of an elaborate disguise. Then hiding that prominent feature, in other words, revealing his true face, would make an utterly impenetrable disguise. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Hugh Boone? Good witness, are you still hiding the truth from this court?
If that's a disguise, then underneath it, his true identity must be...
Yes, that's right. There's really only one person he could really be.
Yup.
My lord, the defense believes it can reveal Mr. Boone's true identity to the court.
No! Please! No!
Very well then, counsel. What is the true identity of this peddler who goes simply by the name of Gossip on the street?
Everybody say it with me!
Drum roll, please. Mr. Daily Vigil! Take that! Your real name is actually Mr. Vigil, isn't it? Mr. Daily Vigil. I don't recall that name, counsel. Who is this Mr. Vigil? It's a name I encountered yesterday, my lord. It has to do with a certain client of Mr. Herlock Sholmes. A young gentlewoman came to the detective asking him to locate her missing husband. The woman in this photograph, in fact, this is Mrs. Vigil.
What?
From what I understand, you haven't returned home since the night before the inspector was found dead. But of course, on that night, you were being held captive by the two red-headed League men.
And last night, you were put up by the prosecution service in preparation for testifying in this trial. Because we'd been led to believe that you, Miss Venus, and Mr. Sandwich were all homeless. Being important witnesses in this case, we needed to know where we could find you, of course.
And that explains why you've not only been unable to return home, but also unable to contact your wife, who's been beside herself with worry, waiting for you at the Vigil residence.
No, you hold on to me. I don't have
the first idea.
I have the first idea.
What I'm talking about? Really? It's a simple enough matter to confirm my suspicions. All we have to do is pull off that disguise.
No, please.
Bailiff, bring soap, a sponge, and a wash bowl at once.
Yes, my lord.
Mr. de Rousseau and Mr. de Rossi, you will restrain the witness. Oui, my lord.
See, my lord.
What are you doing? No, get off me! No, stop! Get off, please! Don't!
There he is.
Yup.
In all of his glory. Well, we are now seeing your true features, I presume.
Lift your head, sir, so the court can see your face.
It would appear that the defense counsel's assertion was entirely correct. This has all been a very elaborate deception. So, witnesses, tell the court, have you seen this man before? I don't believe it, but...
See? It isn't a question. This is the inspector we saw in the park.
Extraordinary! On the day of the Red-Headed League enrollment, the man claiming to be Inspector Gregson, who appeared before Mr. de Rousseau and Mr. de Rossi in the park, was you disguised as the inspector. Or rather, was you posing as the inspector in no disguise at all. Mr. Vigil was formerly employed as the chief warder at Barclay Prison. The chief warder? Then your career had promise. Why, you would quite possibly have become the future governor of the prison. What on earth have you been doing peddling tittle-tattle on Fresno Street? Well, it's been 10 years since Mr. Vigil worked at the prison. 10 years?
I'm really dreadfully sorry about all of this. Yes, it's true. I am Daily Vigil.
And you were the chief warder at Barclay Prison 10 years ago? So where did Mr. Hugh Boone come from?
Boone is the other me. It's a name I invented.
Well, evidently there is a great deal under the surface here.
I'll explain everything. I'll tell you just how wretched my life has become.
Oh boy, we're due for a soliloquy.
As you say, it was 10 years ago now that my employment as Barclay's chief warder came to an end. Having left the prison service, I searched for some new occupation by which to earn a wage. But times were hard in London, and I found no suitable engagements at all. In desperation one day, I turned my hand at selling wares on Fresno Street.
But your wife appears to know nothing of this. She still maintains that you are the chief warder at Barclay Prison.
I was utterly determined that my wife should not know my failings, which is why I never told her. I opened an account at the bank under the name of Hugh Boone, and I rented the cheapest room I could find on Fresno Street.
The scene of the very crime we're investigating.
Yes, that's right. A place from which I could emerge every morning at 8 as a squalid peddler, and transform myself back every evening at 5 into a well-dressed man about town before returning home. That quickly became my daily routine.
I was puzzled by the lack of furniture in the room. But that explains it. But why on earth didn't you just tell us this in the first place?
I have a wife, sir, and 2 sons, and without wishing to sound self-conceited, they regard me with some pride. I couldn't bring myself to disappoint them.
So instead you decided to conceal your occupation from them.
Yes. I've made such a terrible mess of everything.
Still, one thing doesn't add up. No matter how many tidbits of information you could sell to passing gentlemen, even at 6 pence apiece, you couldn't hope to match the salary you must have commanded as chief warder at the prison. Very true. To have kept your family in comfort, despite 10 years of somewhat misbegotten employment.
That was all thanks to Inspector Gregson.
What? Inspector Gregson? What on earth?
It was some years after I invented Boone and begun my other life as a street seller. He, the inspector that is, recognized me one day.
Do you mean to say the victim was an acquaintance of yours? Wow.
I knew him from my time working at the prison. When he saw what I'd become, he was deeply troubled for me and my family. And from that day forward, he visited me on Fresno Street with increasing regularity. Then one day, he asked me if I would carry out a secret assignment for him.
A secret? What was it?
I was to impersonate the inspector.
What? Impersonate him?
What
the? We always met in that little room so the inspector could brief me.
Visit Oxley's tomorrow and take a statement from the proprietress.
It was always something along those lines. Surveillance work, interviewing people. On those occasions, he would lend me his identification so people would believe who I was. My instructions were to make an impression, to let people know that Inspector Gregson had been at work. And for those services, he compensated me financially.
A Scotland Yard inspector willingly relinquished his identification into your care with intent to deceive? That, as I'm sure I need not point out, is a very serious criminal offense.
But why? What was the point of you impersonating him?
I truthfully do not know. All I can say is that the inspector warned me on numerous occasions.
Now remember, Virgil, I need your solemn word. You don't blab about this to anyone, alright? Ever. Even if I end up a croaker.
Wow. Well, apparently he's blabbing now.
In time, he started to bring papers with him to the room as well. It became something of a second office for him.
All right, so he's doing some investigative work. So, in fact, the person who declared himself to be Inspector Gregson at the park on Lime Street was really...
Yes, it was me, acting on the inspector's orders. As usual, I removed my boon disguise and then went as instructed to the park, armed with the inspector's identification book. It never occurred to me that the bruise on my neck might give me away.
Wow.
Well, I'll bet there's more to this now, isn't there? Well, it would seem this confession completely destroys the defense's case.
Huh? Explain yourself, Prosecutor Asogi.
My learned friend's assertion was as follows. The victim was killed at another location on the day before his corpse was discovered at the hands of these two red-headed league men when they imprisoned the inspector. But no, that can't be. After all, it wasn't the inspector who went to the park that day, it was me. Oh goodness!
Finally, we have clarity. We had nothing to do with the murder of the inspector. And merci, Monsieur de la Défense, for proving it. What? Ah! Order! Indeed, it would appear that we have reached a de facto conclusion of sorts. These witnesses had no involvement in the murder of the victim, and as proven somewhat ironically by the defense. I hereby call an end to the cross-examination.
Hold it!
Pardon me, my lord, but with your permission, I would like to pose one further question to the witness.
Kazuma! What question, counsel?
It concerns the events of 10 years ago. I believe you would have been present at a very significant execution that was carried out at the time.
10 years ago?
Huh. The execution of the professor, Genshin Asogi!
I want to know exactly what your involvement was.
Oh, answer me, man!
Huh. One moment, counsel. Is this related to the current case?
Naturally. It is the prosecution's belief that this case and the events of 10 years ago are inextricably linked.
Does the defense concur, counsel? Kazuma, you're not yourself. You're not as calm as collected as usual.
Poor Kazuma-sama. No wonder he's acting this way. Mr. Vigil's memories of what happened 10 years ago would tell the tale of Genshin Asogi's last moments. His own father.
I know. I do understand that, but even so... Prosecutor Asogi. Do you genuinely believe that this question requires an answer in order to learn the truth behind Inspector Gregson's death?
I need you to trust me. Please.
Very well. Then the defense has no objection. I see. In that case, you will answer the question, witness.
The truth is, I remember very little of that time.
You've forgotten?
I'm sorry to say, yes. As I said, I resigned from my role at the prison 10 years ago.
Oh, that's not true at all.
But for some peculiar reason, my memory of the events leading up to that moment is extremely hazy. Does that not strike you as strange, Mr. Naruhodo?
Sorry?
Well, 10 years is a long time, but to have forgotten the reason why he left such an important job...
Yes, you're right. And not only that, Mr. Vigil's claim contradicts what we already know.
The human spirit is a fragile thing. It's broken all too easily, which is why we have a tendency to wrap it up for protection.
Sorry? The human spirit? I'm afraid I don't understand what you mean.
When we experience pain and suffering that we feel unable to bear, we block it out, obliterate it from our memories, seal it away. But it never truly leaves us. If the seal is broken, the memories resurface, and when they do, that fragile spirit may finally be crushed.
But I really don't. Kazuma-sama.
Well, if it must be crushed, then so be it, because the truth will not stay buried. It's coming out, one way or another.
Right. Now I understand. It's clear what his intentions are. He means to expose the truth at any cost. Perhaps if I pointed out the contradiction in what Mr. Vigil claimed earlier, it might cause some crucial memories to return to him. But should I?
You should.
Should I present the evidence or not?
Do it.
Do it. I have no idea how this is going to go, but this is a court of law, and I have a duty to pursue the truth. Mr. Vigil, I'd like you to look at this. Evidence that clearly contradicts your version of events. All together, everybody. You didn't quit. You were fired.
Take that!
Take that. Just a few moments ago, you made the following statement. I resigned from my role at the prison 10 years ago.
Well, yes.
In other words, you claim to have left the post of chief warder of your own volition.
Well, yes, of course. Why?
Tell me, do you remember seeing this document before?
No, I don't.
This is a dismissal notice ordering the immediate termination of a prison staff member's employment.
A dismissal notice?
And the name on the notice is yours, Mr. Vigil.
What? It's mine? So you didn't resign from the prison service at all. For some reason, you were dismissed as chief warder from Barclay. No, there's been some mistake. I'm sure I tendered my resignation. This dismissal notice is nonsense. Isn't it? If you were forcibly dismissed, there must have been good reason. Clearly, you did something. Mr. Vigil, it's time to break the seal and have you remember. According to the few remaining records, the final execution that you supervised was on 17th of June, 10 years ago. And on that day, something very serious took place at Barclay Prison. The 17th of June?
Was that the professor's execution?
Professor... As you were the chief warder at the time, it stands to reason that you would have been present throughout the proceedings. It does sound familiar. And yet, that execution never took place. The convict ostensibly executed earlier that day later re-emerged from his grave. The convict came back to life?
In the cemetery in the middle of the night, there was a witness.
However, the witness claims that a moment after he saw the convict clambering out of his grave, a gunshot rang out from over his shoulder, and the bullet pierced the professor's chest, killing him instantly. Those may have been the professor's actual last moments. Yes. Seeing as you were in charge of overseeing executions at the time, you must know the truth about what really happened. It's in your head, somewhere deep down. Well, Chief Warder Daily Vigil, I know there are memories in your head that can explain what happened on 17th of June 10 years ago. And now it's time for you to drag them up.
Mr. Vigil.
Yes, the whole prison. It was complete chaos. The prisoner escaped. He was killed in the cemetery. The shocking news ripped through Barclay like a hurricane.
What?
What? What on earth?
Order! Do you mean to say, Mr. Vigil, that your memories of the time have returned?
My head, it's like some floodgates have been opened. The images, the screams. Oh my goodness.
Oh boy.
The papers. There were reports, articles about the man who'd seen the ghost.
Yes, Anak Drebber. But surely those reports were exaggerated.
There were traces at the scene. Traces of what? In Lowgate Cemetery, at plot number 139, blood. Lots of blood. That's where the man was buried, of course. Obviously, something terrible had happened there.
The depths of conspiracy and depravity from which this tale is emerging are quite staggering.
I've reviewed the police records from that time extensively. A thorough investigation was conducted by Scotland Yard to ascertain how the convict managed to escape in the first place. And the conclusion reached by the investigating team was that a member of the prison staff must have been involved.
Are you suggesting that a prison warder abetted the man's bid for freedom?
Yes, and I was suspected of doing it, of using that mass murderer's execution as a way to help him escape.
You did what?
I remember now. The horror of it all is coming back to me. One evening, a few days after the execution, some detectives came to the prison. I was called to the governor's office at the top of the watchtower.
Oh boy, here we go. I'm sorry, Dealey. This is a serious business, but I cannot help you now. As chief warder, you were responsible for overseeing the execution of 4, eh? Well, seems the fellas of Scotland Yard want to have a few wee words with you about it. You'd better pack your things, laddie. You're to attend in person.
As soon as he told me that, my mind just went completely blank, and the next thing I knew,
Oh boy.
I think this is him talking. The professor, the most hated killer in our country's history. And I let him escape. I'm finished. My life is over.
Clear!
Get this man some medical attention now!
Order! Bailiff, fetch a doctor at once!
What the hell just happened?
Court is adjourned for today with immediate effect. Whoa!
What
the hell?
With Mr. Vigil's collapse, proceedings came to an abrupt end for the day, once again overshadowed by the legacy of that notorious killer, appearing like a cursed ghost ship on a foggy ocean. Lord Van Zieks, Mr. Vigil, Kazuma, and Gregson. All of them bound by invisible chains anchored to the same wreckage in the murky depths of the past. But the miraculous light that had been trying to cut through the gloom and shine on those tragic events was playing on the edges of the truth at last.
Wow. To be
continued.
We gotta wrap this up, folks.
So we got to put the kibosh on this.
Yeah. So tune in next week for part 2 of the investigation. I say.
Yeah. Holy crap.
Man, oh man, oh man.
That was some. It was 3 hours. It was totally worth it.
Oh man.
My God.
What?
Wow.
Yikes, bro. Yikes.
Well, tune in next week. I'm the Cannonball Alex Steele.
I am the Package Andrew Steele.
We are the Steele Brothers.